It began on an ordinary evening at an upscale restaurant in Cincinnati, a private dinner attended by close allies, donors, and a few influential figures. J.D. Vance had spent years carefully crafting an image. Tough, no nonsense, a man of the people who never backed down. He spoke with conviction, calling things as he saw them, rarely allowing his guard to slip in public. That night, however, nothing went as planned. In the dimly lit restaurant, where soft ambient light and discreet decor created an atmosphere of privacy and intimacy, Vance believed he was in a safe space. There were no cameras, no prying eyes, at least that's what he thought. Hidden above the bar, a small, almost inconspicuous security camera captured every glance, every word, every subtle shift in his demeanor. At first, the footage showed nothing out of the ordinary. Laughter, the clinking of glasses, casual hand gestures as Vance engaged in friendly conversation with his inner circle. But as the dinner progressed, something shifted. Vance leaned in, lowering his voice ever so slightly, and began speaking without the usual polish. His words, casual and unguarded, flowed freely as if he believed that no one was listening beyond the table. Then came the moment, a remark, pointed and specific, that could not be undone or retracted. It wasn't a slip of the tongue, nor was it taken out of context. It was raw, unfiltered, and dangerously revealing. The reaction around the table was immediate, a few chuckles, nods of agreement, and subtle shifts in body language, as some guests glanced around in sudden awareness of their surroundings. Unbeknownst to everyone at that table, the hidden camera had recorded every detail. For days, the footage remained unnoticed, stored away on the restaurant's security system. Then, without warning, a blurry clip surfaced on an obscure online forum. At first, no one paid it much mind. The audio was muffled, the image grainy. But soon, someone enhanced the video, cleaning up the audio, sharpening the visuals until every word was clear. J.D. Vance's unmistakable voice emerged, his tone casual yet laden with an edge that sent shockwaves through the digital world. Within hours, the clip had exploded across every platform: Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, sparking a media frenzy. Headlines screamed, "Caught on camera." And what did J.D. Vance really say? News outlets ran continuous coverage, and experts were brought in to analyze every nuance. His body language, the subtle shift in his tone, the reactions of the people seated around him. The video, now undeniable in its authenticity, threatened to dismantle the carefully built political persona of a man who had prided himself on being unyielding. The fallout was immediate. Supporters of J.D. Vance dismissed the clip as a calculated hit job, an attempt by the establishment to smear him. They insisted that it was taken out of context, a private conversation never meant for public ears. Yet critics saw it as confirmation of long-held suspicions, that behind his public facade lay a man whose private words revealed a far different character. Heated debates erupted online, with opinion pieces, talk show discussions, and viral social media threads dissecting every second of the footage. In the midst of this maelstrom, J.D. Vance's own team was thrown into chaos. For hours, there was silence from his campaign office. No official statement, no tweets, nothing. Journalists flooded his office with calls, demanding an explanation. Finally, a single post appeared on his official account. "We are aware of the video. A response is coming." But by then, the internet had already made up its mind. The battle lines were drawn. Inside his campaign headquarters, the tension was palpable. Strategists, advisors, and longtime friends gathered around, watching as the clip played on repeat on every available screen. The room was filled with anxious murmurs and urgent whispers. One senior advisor broke the silence. "This is bad. We need to control the narrative before it destroys everything we've built." A younger team member interjected, "We could try damage control. Issue a statement, clarify the context." But another advisor was blunt. "There's no context that can fix this. The audio is as clear as day." J.D. Vance sat quietly, his face a mask of controlled emotion. His mind raced as he watched his carefully constructed image unravel before his eyes. As the crisis deepened, a second video surfaced, this time a cell phone recording from the restaurant. It captured not only Vance's words, but also the reactions of those around him. The subtle looks of discomfort, the whispered comments, and a brief moment when one guest leaned in and muttered something that barely registered on the microphone. All of it painted a picture far more damning than the first clip. The revelation of a second recording only intensified the media storm. Now, not only was J.D. Vance's own speech under scrutiny, but the behavior of his inner circle was dissected in painstaking detail. Within hours, news networks updated their headlines. Talk show hosts, political analysts, and social media influencers began debating the fallout. Was this merely a private slip, or did it reveal a deeper, systemic issue in how politicians conducted themselves? The questions multiplied. Some speculated about the identity of the person who leaked the video. Was it a disgruntled employee, a political rival, or someone within his own circle? But the central question remained: what would J.D. Vance do next? For days, there was silence from the politician himself. No tweets, no press conferences, only a void that grew louder with every passing hour. Behind closed doors, his team scrambled to devise a strategy. Some urged him to issue a full apology, while others argued that any response would only amplify the scandal. The longer they waited, the worse the situation became, as donors began to reconsider their support and media outlets turned the incident into a full-blown exposé. Finally, J.D. Vance stepped into the spotlight. In a brief, measured address, he acknowledged the existence of the footage. "The past few days have been difficult," he began, his voice steady yet tinged with resignation, "and I understand that these recorded words have sparked a national debate. I want you to know that what was captured is a moment taken out of a private context. I am working to address the concerns raised." His statement, though carefully rehearsed, did little to quell the storm. Critics decried it as insincere, while supporters argued that it was nothing more than a media witch hunt. As the debate raged on, J.D. Vance was forced to confront not only the political fallout, but also his own internal crisis. His once unyielding image now seemed fragile, a stark contrast to the public persona he had so diligently built over the years. The haunting question remained: who is J.D. Vance when no one is watching? That night, as he sat alone in his office, surrounded by the relentless hum of notifications and news alerts, he realized that his private words had become public ammunition, and that the difference between his carefully curated image and his true self was now on full display. Amid the chaos, the internet continued to buzz. Social media threads exploded with opinions, and even late-night comedians seized the moment, playing clips with biting humor that left audiences both laughing and cringing. Some political pundits argued that the incident revealed an unavoidable truth about the nature of public life. No matter how hard one tries to control every word, eventually, the private self will surface. Others debated whether such moments, though damaging, could also serve as catalysts for change. In the days that followed, polls began to shift subtly. J.D. Vance's favorability among key voter groups started to dip, and whispers of a potential political fallout grew louder. The pressure from donors became palpable. One major contributor threatened to withdraw support unless Vance addressed the issue definitively. The situation reached a critical juncture. Vance had to decide whether to double down on his public persona or to come clean about the gap between his private thoughts and his public image. Late one night, after yet another round of relentless media coverage, Vance's campaign manager convened a meeting. The room was filled with anxious energy as advisors debated the best course of action. "We either go on the offensive and label this a hit job, or we do damage control," one strategist argued. Another voice cut through the tension. "No matter what we say, someone will always pick this apart. We must address it head-on." The discussion was heated and relentless. Vance himself remained silent for a long time, his mind clearly racing with doubts and fears. Finally, Vance stepped up to a camera for a live address. His eyes, once filled with unyielding confidence, now held a hint of vulnerability. "I want to address the recent video footage," he began, "and while I stand by the principles I've always maintained, I understand that these words, taken out of context, have hurt many and raised important questions. His voice wavered slightly as he continued. I am committed to learning from this and to ensuring that, moving forward, my actions reflect the integrity I believe in. The statement, while measured and controlled, did little to stem the tide of criticism, yet it marked the beginning of a long, grueling process of crisis management and self-reflection. Over the following days, as media outlets and social networks continued to dissect every nuance of the footage, J.D. Vance's team struggled to rebuild the narrative. Supporters argued that the video was a manufactured controversy, a desperate attempt by the establishment to silence an outsider, while detractors insisted that it revealed the true nature of a politician who was far from the public image he projected. The debate grew so fierce that it spilled over into personal attacks, with pundits and influencers alike weighing in on whether a leader should always maintain a flawless public persona, even in private moments. Throughout this turmoil, one question echoed relentlessly. What does it mean to be a politician in the age of constant surveillance? No one could hide anymore. Every gesture, every word was recorded, scrutinized, and broadcast to a global audience. In this relentless digital age, the line between the public and the private had blurred beyond recognition. As the crisis continued to unfold, J.D. Vance found himself forced to confront a painful truth. The carefully constructed armor of his public image was not impervious to human frailty. His private words, stripped of their intended context, had become a mirror reflecting his inner doubts and contradictions. And in that mirror, both supporters and critics saw a man who was not infallible, but rather profoundly human. If you believe that the true measure of a leader is not perfection, but the courage to be honest about one's imperfections, this story will resonate deeply. It is a tale of ambition and vulnerability, of how even those who appear invincible must one day face the consequences of their private selves coming to light. Listen, reflect, and join the conversation, because in an age where every word is recorded, it is our collective responsibility to demand integrity and authenticity. Subscribe for more stories that challenge the status quo, and let us know in the comments. Can a leader ever truly be private, or are we all forever at the mercy of our own recorded truths?